welcome back po sa inyong lahat. Welcome, no? Tonight's LIRA in Law. Pangalan ko po, Lira Simone Kabatbat. I am a practicing solicitor in the United Kingdom. And as I've said, we're broadcasting live tonight, the 11th of April, 2024. It's astonishing how fast time goes. Anyway, topic po natin ngayon, without much of ado, is unmarried partner visas. And this is courtesy of a viewer nga, ang pangalan niya Rose, who asked the question. So I'm happy to deal with it. So hopefully you're watching, Rose. Now, unmarried partner visas. So a starting point, of course, hindi nga kayo kasal. You are in the United Kingdom or indeed outside the United Kingdom and you want to join yung partner nyo nga dito. Problema, it doesn't have to be a problem. You've chosen, no, na hindi nga kayo kasal. Can you still do it? The answer, subject to a few conditions nga, or actually not few, but quite strict conditions, subject to some certain conditions, yes, you can. Which is a good start, because normally I say, oh, no, you can't, but you may be able to do this. But yes, you can. Starting point po natin, hindi nga kasal. Now, let's look at two different but similar scenarios nga. Applying from outside the United Kingdom, sabihin natin galing nandun kayo sa Pilipinas, or you're applying in the United Kingdom because you're already here. And that was Rose's question. So let's tackle the applying from outside the United Kingdom. Sabihin natin nasa Pilipinas nga kayo. Now, kung hindi kayo nagsasama dahil nandito nga yung partner nyo, o nagsasama kayo dahil nandun nga siya, and you want to come into the United Kingdom, you want to accompany him or her into the United Kingdom, ano bang kailangan yung pakita? What are the things to watch out for? So una nga, status ng partner nyo. So, kung indefinite siya, na Briton siya, o kaya skilled worker visa nga siya, pwede kayong magpasok ng application. But there are certain conditions or there are certain categories na hindi nga pwede. For example, domestic work visa. Hindi nga yung pwede kung hindi nga kayo kasal. Actually, it's a bit more complex also than that. And now also, difficulties anyway with dependents in relation to cares, kasal kayo o hindi. But una nga, status ng partner nyo. Briton ba sila? O kaya indefinite ba sila? O indeed, skilled worker nga sila dito. Now, kung papasok nga kayo dito, Briton yung partner nyo o kaya indefinite siya, then kailangan nyo nga English language. A1 test, which is not it's a much lower level nga ng B1 test, and also you need to be able to show income ng sponsor nyo now. And that's one of the things that next week yung pag-uusapan natin maigi, in quite a lot more detail, because it's changing actually next Thursday, the 11th of sabi ko 4th of I've said today, throughout 11th of April. Hindi po, of course, the 4th of April nga ngayon, but next week, that's why I have it in mind, 11th of April. 11th April, next Thursday po, magbabago nga yung batas in relation to income, going up from 18,620 to 29,000 pounds. But let's not deal with that tonight for the moment, So, income nga ng asawa nyo, yung partner nyo dahil hindi nga kayo kasal. So you need to satisfy the income requirement, which at the moment, as of today, is still 18,600. But in a week's time, it's gonna go up to 29,000 pounds. Kung ang sasamaan nyo nga dito, Briton o indefinite leave to remain. This is a different requirement nga kung skilled worker yung partner nyo nga dito. Kailangan nyo din pakita accommodation in the United Kingdom. Na meron kayong bahay, meron kayong tutuluyan dito. It doesn't have to be something you owned. It can be something rented. It can be a room, in a house, for example, or it could be a room sa magulang nyo. So that's quite it's a wide-ranging, if you like, possibilities. Yung nga lang, kailangan yung kwarto. Kung meron kayong kwarto, it must be yours only. So it's something that you alone will be occupying with your partner. Evidence of relationship, we'll have a look at that in a moment nga. And of course, yung nga, as I said, TB test, tuberculosis, wala kayong TB if you're coming into the UK as a partner of someone who has indefinite leave to remain, or someone with settled status or Briton nga. Now, or indeed anything else, because you need to be able to show that you don't have TB and you're entering the United Kingdom with a visa for more than 6 months. Now, what happens if you, anong ebidensya ang kailangan ipakita? That depends in part in relation to kung nagsasama nga kayo sa atin, kung doon nga kayo nakatira pareho, o kaya sasamahan nyo nga siya dito and you join him or her as a partner nga dito. So, evidence of relationship. This is probably one of the, if not the most important, condition nga. So, kung nagsama kayo, maybe a little bit easier. So, meron kayong mga bills, o kaya meron kayong yung tinitira nyo, it's in joint names, o kung sa inyo nga mismo, o kaya it could be na meron kayong renta, rental agreement nga sa atin, and maybe you have joint accounts together. Kung nagsasama kayo, that may not be so difficult to show. Pero kung nagsasama kayo, o kung hindi kayo nagsasama, kailangan yung pakita na yung relasyon nyo a minimum of 2 years. Okay? So unmarried partners must be able to show 2 years relationship akin to marriage. Nagbago po yung definition nila. So actually, pinaliwag nga nilang konti yung definition relatively recently as of the 31st of January 2024. So it's only a few months nga. So dati, kailangan pakita nagsasama nga kayo. Kung hindi kayo nagsasama, hindi nyo mapapakita, hindi kayo bibigyan ng visa as a partner, as a married partner nga. But ngayon, nagbago na. So as of the 31st of January. So ngayon, kailangan nyo nga pa rin pakita na meron kayong relasyon and the relationship is spanning at least 2 years, but it must be akin to marriage. So it makes a massive difference to some people, especially kung nandun nga kayo sa Pilipinas dahil wala nang divorce sa atin. So sabihin natin, gusto nyo pumasok dito. Meron kayong, ang partner nyo dito nakatira. Hindi kayo nagsasama dahil dito siya nakatira, doon kayo nakatira sa atin. Hindi kayo pwedeng walang divorce sa atin. So you can't also get an annulment for whatever reason, so you are unable to marry in the Philippines. Okay? If you're not able to get an annulment nga, and of course, divorce hindi nga posibilidad. Ibig sabihin, you can't also enter the United Kingdom as a fiancé because you can't marry in the United Kingdom within 6 months of arriving. Hindi nga din kayo nagsasama. So, hindi nga posibilidad yung spouse because you can't get married. Hindi posibilidad yung fiancé because you can't get married within 6 months of arriving in the UK. Hindi kayo nagsasama ng 2 years dahil nandito siya, nandun kayo sa atin. So, yung binago nila, the definition of a partner, can make a massive difference. So, yung nga, kailangan pakita pa rin na the relationship spans at least 2 years. Now, how do you do that? Okay? And we'll look at this evidence again, also again in relation to applicants in the United Kingdom. So, you do that by, say, kung nagpapadala siya sa inyo. Okay? Meron kayong joint account. Diba, mo ba magsak ang pera? Bumili kayo ng bahay, pangalan yung pareho. O meron kayong mga anak. Kung meron kayong mga anak, then that makes life quite a bit easier because the presumption is the relationship is there. So there are many things na pwedeng pakita. Of course, you can provide photos together nga, ganoon. But photos generally doesn't have a lot of weight. Because photos can be falsified, for example. And sometimes it's also difficult kailangan nakuha itong yung picture, So, kung ang kaso nyo nga, ang sitwasyon nyo nandun kayo, nandito siya, so, and you don't really have a lot of evidence, then make sure nga that you now start nga gathering evidence. So, kung wala nga kayong bank account, open one. Kung yung rental agreement nyo nasa pangalan mo nga lang dahil kung nasa Pilipinas, ask if it can be made into joint names, for example. Kung pinapadalang ka nga, make sure that you keep the receipts. Ganoon, especially kung wala nga kayong mga anak. So all those things go towards evidencing your relationship over 2 years. So as I say, the good news is because of that change, kung gusto nyo pumasok nga dito, so you can show a relationship akin to marriage, like a marriage, a minimum of 2 years, you can do that kahit hindi nga kayo nagsasama, which is great news. Now, I mean, let me just read to you actually the new law. Actually, I'll read to you the old law against the new law. So makikita niyo yung diferensya, no? Ito yung luma, no? Old law. Sabi doon, a person, that is the sponsor, who's been living together with the applicant in a relationship akin to marriage or civil partnership for at least 2 years prior to the date of application. Yung lumang batas, definition of an unmarried partner. Panibagong batas, as at the 31st of January, sabi dito, where the applicant and their partner are not married or in a civil partnership, they must have been in a relationship similar to a marriage or civil partnership for at least 2 years before the date of application. So notice the difference. Ang diferensya po, the living together. The second, the new law, the current law nga, does not have the living together section. So, as I've said, that can take particular significance nga for people who are in the Philippines and in the United Kingdom. Now, Rose, ang question po niya, applying from inside the United Kingdom. Now, is it also applicable in the United Kingdom? Absolutely po, no? Anong kailangan niyo pakita? So sabihin natin si Rose may visa nga siya dito. Let's say skilled worker, no? Gusto niyang palitan dahil either mawala na yung trabaho niya o gusto niya ng palitan because she wants a bit more perhaps flexibility nga. So she wants to change from the current visa nga niya to something that allows her to stay in the United Kingdom based on that relationship. The answer is generally yes, you can do that. Again, it goes back to the same thing. Kailangan yung pakita na yung relationship nyo is at least 2 years, and it's like a marriage, but you don't have to be living together. Now, I'm particularly excited nga about the applicability of this to some of my clients. That marami akong makalayante, living in sila, no? And sometimes yung partner nila hindi nga nasa London. A lot of my clients are London-based, but doesn't have to be. I have a fair few clients certainly in Manchester and indeed all over the country. Birmingham and actually even Newcastle nga. So I have fair few clients nga outside London. But let's say na either you're from outside London, nandito ang partner nyo sa London, or the other way around. Nandito kayo sa London, yung partner nyo nasa Newcastle. Hindi natin. And you're not living together in the sense of, not in the formal sense. So pagka day off nyo, umuwi kayo sa kanya, o kaya pagka holidays, umuwi kayo, no? So you are in a relationship akin to marriage. You're sharing your resources. Meron kayong joint account, for example, no? Kung meron kayong tinitirhan, no? That's yours. Yung nga lang umuwi ka doon at weekends nga lang dahil meron kang trabaho nga sa London. So it is you're then in a relationship akin to marriage, no? And minimum nga of 2 years. Now, if you're not living together, okay, when you make an application nga to the Home Office, it's especially important kung nandito nga kayong pareho sa England nga, no? Na sabihin nyo bakit. And usually, there's a valid plausible reason, and that's normally yung nga dahil ibang nandito kayo sa London, nandun siya sa Newcastle, for example, and that's the reason why you may not be living together. Although there's argument to be made that you're actually still living together, it's just you're not there for most of the time because of employment. But anyway, you can now, with the new definition, also say, oh no, we are in a relationship akin to marriage because tignan nyo, we're sharing resources, lagi kami nakikita, sometimes siya nagpapadala sa pamilya ko, with my, maybe even the tenancy agreement is in joint names, for example, that doon ka naman tumutuloy at weekends or indeed during holidays, no? So all those things kailangan ipakita. Now, sabihin natin bisa mo nga skilled worker route, Rose, no? Gusto mong palitan nga yun, ano kailangan mong pakita, no? They're very similar to the one to the conditions na kailangan yung pakita pagkapapasok kayo in the UK. Apart from, of course, you don't need the TB test, for example, the tuberculosis test, because you're in the United Kingdom, you don't need to show it. Now, accommodation, kailangan yung parang pakita na meron kang tutuluyan nga dito, kailangan yung parang pakita nga that yung income requirement ng niya at saka ikaw, no? The tataas nga yung income requirement from 18,000 to 29,000 pounds, no? But because you're in the UK, legitimately, no, may trabaho ka nga dito, you can join yung income mo sa income niya. So that may make life a little bit easier kung mababa ang income niya. O, under 29,000 is of course a lot of money. So, kailangan niyo pa rin pakita very, very similar things, no? Kung nandito ka as a skilled worker, it could be done already the B1 English language, which means mas mataas yun sa A1 o A2 na usually kailangan yung pakita in relation to the unmarried partner visa. So, again, no, kung hindi nga kayo kasal, pero nagsasama kayo, o kahit hindi kayo nagsasama, yung nga lang you are in a relationship akin to marriage, a minimum of 2 years, you can still make an application as an unmarried partner. So, pwede mong palitan yung visa mo from a skilled worker to that of an unmarried partner. Now, sabihin natin, you tick all those boxes, magpapasok na nga kayo, anong makukuha nyo kung nagpasok kayo, if you're successful with your application, either in country or from out country, from the Philippines sabihin natin, no? Anong bibigay sa inyo? Ang visa bibigay sa inyo, pareho nung spouse visa. There's actually no difference between the two. Ang visa bibigay sa inyo is a partner visa for 2.5 years. Okay? So, 2.5 years, pwede kayong magtrabaho nga dito, gusto nyo mag-aral, hindi problema, gusto nyo mag-aral at saka magtrabaho, hindi nga din problema, uwi kayo sa atin, balik kayo dito, hindi nyo kailangan panibagong visa. So, it's actually a very good visa to have. You should not get money from the government though, okay? So, no recourse to public funds. But otherwise, it's a very a generous visa. No, it allows you not to work, no limit. Allows you to study again, no limit. Combination of the two. Kung ayaw magtrabaho, okay then. As long as, of course, you continue to satisfy, especially later on, the 29,000 income requirement. So it's a very good visa actually to have. Now, after 2.5 years, ano na mangyayari? You can apply for another 2.5 years. Now, pagka 5 taon na kayo, no, with that kind of visa, 5 years to remain in the UK as a partner, bar other things, you can make an application then for indefinite leave to remain, okay, for settlement status. Kung of course, ang sponsor nyo nga is Briton nga or indefinite leave to remain. If you're joining someone nga who is under skilled worker route, of course, dependent kanila, and you make an application. At the same time, they make applications for extensions or indefinite leave to remain. So, but if you are here, you've joined someone nga who's a British national nga, o kaya British citizen, o kaya indefinite leave to remain, so settled status dito, 5 years na kailangan yung pakita. So, 2.5, extension ulit, 2.5 na naman, so 5 years na. And then you should be able to get indefinite leave to remain, which is settled status. Now, kung asawa nyo o partner nyo nga asawa nyo nga dito, later on, you married, let's say, no, and you married someone who is a British citizen in the United Kingdom, you can then make an application for naturalization without having to wait the usual 1 year if you are married to someone who is a British citizen. But that changes again because you don't kailangan makita kasal nga kayo at that point. But that's 5 years down the line. So it is actually a very good visa to have, and the change to the partner definition, I think, can make quite a difference to applicants nga in the United Kingdom. So it's something absolutely you should consider. And often nga, it's a great question from Rose dahil ang mga tao, there's an assumption always, and that that kailangan nyo kasal, no? Na pagkapapasok nga kayo dito. But that's not the case. That's not been the case for a long time. And certainly recently, as I've said, as of the 31st of January, the definition of partner has also widened a little bit. But yung nga, just be careful though, hindi ibig sabihin na kung boyfriend, girlfriend nga kayo, you're dating na pwede niyong gamitin to. Kailangan nyo pa rin pakita that you are in a relationship akin to marriage, a minimum of 2 years. And they want to see evidence. Yeah? Hindi nga lang to basta-basta. Your say-so may not be enough. Photographs is unlikely to be enough. No? you need something more formal. So, kung wala nga kayong joint account, ang payo ko, open a joint account. Yung accommodation nyo, change it to joint names. Okay? Kung meron kayong pinapadalan sa atin, no, maybe ask them to every so often send the money, no? Because otherwise, so it shows that you are yung partner nyo is also committed to your family members sa Pilipinas, no? So it can be a mixture of quite a lot of things na pwede nyo pakita, but importante po meron kayong ebidensya, because when they say 2 years, they mean 2 years. They don't mean 18 months nga, they do mean 2 years. And ilista nyo yung ebidensya nyo. So itong practical tips po, no? Unang-una, statement. Para bang affidavit, no? I don't mean bank statements, but statement nyo. Kailangan sabihin doon, explain yung situation nyo. If you don't want to make a statement, explain it as part of your representations. But there must be something. Kailangan ipakita, kailangan sabihin doon in a little bit more detail, kailangan kayo nagkita. I mean, so on the application form anyway. Pero ang payo ko, put it in a statement format because it's a bit easier to read. You can give also a bit more information. So, kailangan kayo nagkita, no? Were you introduced, for example? Kung nandun kayo, nandito sila, how do you conduct your relationship? You'll probably making phone calls every day, at least once, probably more times, no? Are you making contact nga by WhatsApp, no? O nagfe-Facebook nga kayo? Umuwi ba siya? No? Ka umuwi siya sa kayo tumutuloy, no? When was the last time? So it's for you to show, no? Always, it's for you to show that indeed this relationship has been ongoing a minimum 2 years. It doesn't matter na hindi nga kayo kasal. Kung nandun kayo sa Pilipinas o hindi ko nandito kayo, there could be a reason why you're not also marrying, no? Other than you don't want to marry. That also means some people decide that they don't wish to marry. And it doesn't have to be. So, pero kung may nga dahilan, so kung kasal nga kayo sa atin, or for whatever reason you can't get the divorce, sinubukan nyo na you can't get the divorce, that's why you're still unmarried nga ngayon, say so. Explain nyo nga, no? Because the Home Office approaches things fairly traditionally, no? So kung hindi kayo kasal, they wonder, bakit hindi kayo kasal? Rather than, it's a choice. So, ingat nga kayo. I say this all the time, that evidence is king. Okay? It's for you to prove na talaga nagsasama nga kayo, o kahit hindi kayo nagsasama, there is a relationship akin to marriage, like a marriage, a minimum of 2 years. Sa inyo yun, ha? The onus of proof is yours. Kailangan yung pakita po yun. And if you get a refusal, it could be because it's insufficient evidence. If it's insufficient evidence, then you may want to either appeal it if you think there's in fact, there was enough evidence, or you may wish to make another application with better evidence. But that's something to bear in mind. Pero pag kung yung nga mangyari, ma-refuse nga kayo, before you do that, you should really seek legal advice. Because the way you go, so another application may be frankly pointless if there are certain things that you can't really, you can't really cover with just an application. You may want to pursue an appeal, for example. But yung abogado nyo should be able to advise you which is the better route. So the good news, Rose, is yung question mo sa akin, unmarried partner, pwede ba kung hindi kayo kasal? Yes, absolutely you can. But beware of the conditions nga, kailangan yung pakita. And as I say, first tip ko, prepare a statement. Para bang affidavit ng itsura. Sabihin nyo nga doon, kailangan yung nakita. So, but also be factual about it, no? There's no, I mean, you can of course say that, yes, of course you want to pursue family life in the UK, nahihirapan nga kayo, but don't overload on the kind of, on the mushy stuff, no? Gusto nang makita nga, what is your evidence? No? Present it to them professionally. Anong ebidensya nyo? Anong kailangan yung pakita? Nasaan? Kung meron kayong mga dokumento na hindi nga, it's in Tagalog, sabihin natin, make sure you get it translated, no? Because they will want to, they do not assume na mabasa nga nila. If it's in Tagalog, it's actually part and parcel of the evidence requirements. In a foreign language, there should be formal translation. Yeah. So, but the good news is at least it's not a no. Immediately, you can make an application. Kailangan nyo nga lang mag-ingat ng konti. Now, I hope that you've enjoyed that. I always enjoy oral topics nga, and I hope you enjoy it as much, a little bit as or as much as if you enjoy it as much as I discuss it. Then certainly that's already a bonus. But hopefully, Rose, that was of use to you. Let me know, if you have any other questions. Now comes my favorite part of the show. Now it's alam ko na it's I like the whole thing. Of course I do. But my favorite is yung mga batian, the batian section. And actually, we have a special batian section segment nga ngayon.